Camp has recently premiered Season 4, Episode 1, and what are my thoughts on it? Well, look no further than this video. Welcome, my name's Alexis Disventure Camp, and today I'll be analyzing and deep diving into the episode, the characters, etc. Before we begin, a few things to note. Background footage is not owned by me, it is owned by Omniscient Cartoons. If you have different analyses or opinions than me, that's completely fine. I would love to read them and more in the comments down below. I do sections in my videos to maintain organization and simplicity, which are, for this video, characters, positives, and negatives, overall thoughts, and conclusion. Alrighty, enough of the intro, let's get this started.
Building new families.
But you chose the color gray.
I never said it was a happy family.
For this, I'll discuss the characters that interacted with one another the most together. Since I don't want to repeat myself, I feel like a lot of things I said about the characters will be fixed in future episodes. There are 25 more to go. This is just the start. Benji, Hannah, and Amelie. Amelie, she for sure gave an impression, one I was not a fan of. I love the villains, antagonists. My top 5 Disventure Camp have all been antagonists at some point. However, all she did was take control when it wasn't the place nor time to do so. And, as Spencer says, she's simply building a target on herself. An easy boot. Given how this is basically all what her screen time is dedicated towards for this episode, for now, not a fan of her. Benji. The only remarkable thing he did was fumble the bag with Hannah extremely badly. I wasn't a fan of him before, and that did not help. And that honestly wraps up all Benji did this episode. Yeah, he said great that Diego was on the same team and whatever, but to me that isn't much towards Benji, which I find interesting. It makes me continue to think that he's definitely the earlier boots given how little of an introduction he truly got here. Overall, I'm still not truly that much of a fan of him. Moving forward, I think that could ultimately change, but I do want to see a different side, more personality to him. In this episode can be summed up into 2 words: nice and fun. I'm okay with that, mainly because we still got to see her character shine, and also like the peacemaker, and how do I word this? Fun personality. My hope is, in the future for her, we expand on the fact she's never heard of the show, was recruited, and use that to the advantage of her development, basically letting her become more than that nice, fun personality. I'm getting a bit of flashbacks to a few certain characters. Anastasia and Marissa. I'm probably still butchering Anastasia's name somehow. I was not that hyped for her, but my word, did this episode do her justice. Didn't even need the backstory to completely shine. She has the sass, strategy, personality, her dynamics, her not being that stereotypical, I say stereotypical, but like the mean girl that you always see, right? In these shows, just yet. So much to adore. I gotta agree with the popular opinion here. She's quite loved for good reason so far in the fandom, from what I've seen anyway. Cannot wait to see more of her, and for me to eventually pronounce her name right the entire time. Marissa. The first few predictions from across the fandom have been defeated even more. Her being the leader may make her somewhat of a target. Ultimately, I do think she'll be too strong in challenges to kick off too soon for the team. Plus her dynamic with Anastasia comes plot armor. Hoping so much that this dynamic, or Ivy and Zaid's, is the main one this season. Otherwise, not too much to note for me. She's cool though. Diego, Spencer, and Jade. Diego. He is one that falls under the characters who didn't get much of an introduction at all, but given his main highlights can be cracked up to his dynamic with Spencer, and spoiler alert, I'm not the biggest fan of those two, easy to say he is not one I'm too much excited for come the future. I don't dislike him per se, and my opinion could absolutely change, but not enough for me to go off here to like his character. Audition, I was not hyped for her this season and could honestly care less. However, this episode let her strategic side shine and her nature so much, I've turned around a bit. Given her dynamic with Spencer, which is starting off so interesting, that complete focus on how the game should be played, she's doing great at it so far, I'd say. It's making her separate from whatever she'll have to do with the duo this season, Diego and Spencer, which is especially something I appreciate because, we all know what happened to Ashley last season. Spencer, my favorite. Shocked to see him get all the focus in episode 1, which I'm not complaining about. Showcased his flaws, backstory, yada 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 so well, and how he regrouped from his situation with Jade impressed me. Shows his gameplay here to two strategic people who aren't inherently antagonistic is already a setup for a great interest for me. I like to ignore Diego and Spencer, as I personally view their first interaction here as Jaden 2.0, and not something I'm a fan of for now. I overlook it in Spencer's case because of the other positives in his character's way, and how much we really got to get insight into his character, at least by first episode terms. And Ted, starting off with Linda. Fiore but older, and I enjoyed it. Fiore is my third favorite out of all the cast, so seeing another antagonist similar is something I'm enjoying. I do want her to become smarter, like why lash out in public a bit when that paints a target, especially if you're wanting that 5-4 majority. Also, makes me think Linda and Ted is a parallel to Gret and Tom Season 1 alliance-wise, and become further from that same Fiore concept, and is not the main antagonist. I want it to be Ted in my opinion. Either way, it could be interesting down the line. The amount of potential he has better not be wasted to become what he is. This episode every single time, I swear! Ultimately, all Ted was here is a running gag and being ducked on. I am hoping it changes come the future because, in my own opinion, I don't think that's the best direction for the character, at least given what we've seen. The strategic ideals we have got the chance to see past that are interesting though. Isabelle and Natalia. She was good this episode. Given how much I'll admit I've been nervous on how she would be handled, she isn't villainous, she has a setup for interesting backstory, gets to choose the next strategy option, which, here's where I'll theorize for that. We know it affects the entire team. From Survivor, this twist specifically is known as Summits, or for the more recent seasons, Survivor 40 to now, it is called Journeys, and it is where one person or two, it just depends on the form of the twist they're choosing, is nominated to make a decision for the tribe or themselves. Nowadays, modern Survivor, it has been used to add more advantages to the game, mostly relating to risking or keeping their votes, or getting an advantage, etc. The past, tribe affecting Summits / Journeys, have landed in them deciding merge tribes or team swaps. We know both of these can't be true options because the season trailer showed the teams were the exact same, and it's way too early right now for any type of merge discussion. Therefore, I'm going to assume it's some advantage they could gain. However, it could disadvantage the team in one way or another, and that's how it affects, the entire team. Or it's the advantage from Survivor, and it affects the entire team by the way the specific player would use it. Maybe an extra idol, perhaps? Back to Isabelle, though. She seems fine. I personally do want to keep a bit of caution for now, but I'm happy that she seems handled well, and her dynamic with Natalia is really wholesome, the one that's been developing in the background. Rest is one word I would use for her. Love her subtle gameplay, making allies, building bonds, setting herself up for really good success. No clue what she'll be doing in terms of the story as her own, personal arc. No hints yet, which leads me into curiosity. Also, that she'll be fully strategic focused then story. And I can appreciate that. Richard, Alicio, and Logan. Alicio has now completed a tutorial on how to get yourself a one-way ticket to first boot. Broken off from the others, not socializing and not even trying to create allies or bonds that are required to stay in the game, not helping in either challenge, has gotten suspicious for looking for the idol, which isn't too bad on paper, but when everyone else is getting to work, yeah, I'd argue they could be unpredictable with it, but what's the reason for him staying? I'm sure he can get whatever his arc is done fast, and I'd argue that there's way more interesting characters on the board here. Still, if he can pull off a miracle game-wise and survive first boot or survive the first elimination his team goes to, I'd be impressed. Logan, waiting here to get another canoe. TDI reboot reference. Except, he's smarter. Still, he's grown a lot on me. Just a wholesome guy having fun on the show, which means he's probably a pre-merge boot, if not the first, given I don't think he has enough plot just yet to make it farther. Still, I know there's potential here to shine, and I did really like what we got to see. Richard, he did nothing. absolutely nothing. I don't think his name was even mentioned. I know I'm being more negative here, and especially since I didn't care for his character much before, but I do feel like he deserved at minimum something of an introduction. Something to let us know who he is past the design in this episode. He'll have something to do eventually. Also, Logan and Richard dynamic? Ivy, Tristan, and Zaid. Ivy, the shade to Rhea is enough to become S tier for me. That aside, loving the backstory, the motivation, the dynamics, the design, the interactions, the friendships. Ivy x Zaid seems so wholesome. Call it a fangirl moment or whatever. Easily one of my favorites notwithstanding. Plus, from the season trailer, she survives all 4 coming episodes, yeah! So much she can do and I am hyped. Tristan. Love them in their audition and preseason content. Continued here too. The fashion designer, the aesthetics, the way they've interacted with the others. They seem like they're here to stay. One thing I'm curious about is what arc they'll have. There's nothing implied yet, foreshadowed surprisingly. I think it's easy to say they aren't an early boot. Therefore, lots of potential for Tristan, and I'm hoping it is used. Last but certainly not least, and ending the contestants was Zaid. His character has grown on me so much, not only from the trio's interactions, but the fact he's on the chef/baker side of things. Given we haven't gotten a fully dedicated character to that craft, Miriam does not count. She did literally everything, and his bond with his mother, it intrigues me. Cannot forget to mention Ivy x Zaid. Wholesome, that's all. I'm excited for his arc and character. Now to production, Emily. Why am I not discussing Trevor and Derek, you may ask? Simple. There is nothing story-wise to talk about for them. Plus, I don't want to. The beauty of being the creator here. Something All-Stars executed really well in the first episode was explaining how Trevor and Derek became interns, and using that as a base. However, here, it wasn't told at all about how Emily was able to become an intern. Arguably, this could be saved for a future episode, and my personal preference, I would have liked to just understand more, or at least get one more line or something to see more of why she's stuck here specifically. Did Trevor bail her out? Derek would not want to, let's be real. Did Court force her into this? And if Disventure Camp has something called Court, how is Rhea not in jail? With all the characters out of the way, here is the full tier list in all its glory. It's full ranking from worst to best, in my own opinion. 18th, Alicio. 17th, Emily. 16th, Benji. 15th, Richard. 14th, Diego. 13th, Marissa. 12th, Isabelle. 11th, Natalia. 10th, Ted. 9th, Linda. 8th, Jade. 7th, Logan. 6th, Hannah. 5th, Zaid. 4th, Anastasia. I'm like, one day. 3rd, Tristan. 2nd, Ivy. And first, my favorite, Spencer. Let's get into the positives and negatives of the episode, shall we?
Building new families.
But you chose the color gray.
I never said it was a happy family.
Positives. Animation and voice acting. How much do I need to add here? The voice acting is so well done. All the voice actors and actresses did wonderful. The animation continues to be stunning. The added front and side faces, the new camera angles, more fluidity too in the movements, the details? I could go on and on. Strategy. Survivor is a show I love watching for one main reason. The strategy, gameplay, and how it all meshes. All these characters, the new twists, are all pushing for more and more strategy. Everyone has their own unique ways of playing it so far, too. And I'm enjoying that. Certain character introductions and dynamics. Multiple characters like Anastasia, oh my gosh, Ivy, Spencer, all had great, well-rounded introductions. Personality, backstory for some, etc. Dynamic speaking, personally biased towards the Tristan, Ivy, and Zaid trio, but Sage, Spencer, Anastasia, and Marissa have also been off to a great, and in terms of Jane and Spencer, an interesting start. Carnival theme. This is the first season of Disventure Camp we've gotten to have a fully dedicated theme to, and I am loving it! The changed introduction, the Carnival inspo challenges and scenery. I feel like it'll continue to be expanded and expanded upon coming episodes. Wonder how they'll keep it going for 26 episodes, and especially if they'll manage to two-part other comps. Negatives. Certain character non-introductions, dynamics, and scenes. Characters like Richard, Diego, Benji, some examples, barely got any introduction besides like one thing. And I understand screen time won't be equal and never will, but come on. I just wish it was a little more even, or to a point where the introductions are more expanded upon rather than Richard not even getting to say. I just can't get over that. Anyways, dynamics refers to mainly Diego and Spencer. That could absolutely change. I don't know. Again, I felt like their first interaction was more jaded, but that's personal preference there. Scenes like Ted's situation, I don't think were ones that did justice for some of the characters, or in other words, helped in terms of the plot or whatever character they're trying to reach. Could be more on rambling at this rate. However, these are just my personal critiques. With all that done and out of the way, let's get on to the overall thoughts and conclusion.
Building new families.
But you chose the color gray.
I never said it was a happy family.
Overall, I enjoyed the episode. Though it has its flawed scenes and certain characters I do wish we got to know more about, it had tons of positives its way, and I'm excited for what comes next in the season. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate the support. I would also love to read your thoughts on both the episode and characters, as stated at the beginning, but including what you all think of this new format. I haven't done episode analysis this way, ever, so I wanted to test it out with something new that I think could be an improvement from the previous. Just let me know. Either way, have an awesome day or night, depending on when you're seeing this or watching. See ya!